Eddie, story came out over the weekend that Andy Ruiz Jr. is still yet to sign to fight Anthony Joshua in Saudi Arabia on December 7th. Can you shed any light on this?
Yep, fake news, he's already signed. So now it's really answering some questions that he has about the rematch, which is more logistically, and some boxing questions as well. But they know what they signed up to, and we look forward to a thrilling fight.
AJ came out last week and said he would love the fight to be held in Wales. What convinced him of Saudi Arabia?
A few things, really. I think the vision of the event, the opportunity to box in somewhere completely different, and Andy Ruiz's comments. You know, he didn't want to fight in the UK, he felt it was unfair. I don't think AJ wants any excuses. You know, he wants to make sure that he wins this fair and square, and to do it on a neutral territory made sense. But to see the vision that the Saudi government had about this event and about what they're trying to do in boxing, we've seen them, you know, dip their toes in with the World Boxing Super Series final, with the Amir Khan fight, and a whole host of other sporting events as well. This was a big opportunity to come and be part of an iconic event that I believe will go down in history and change the face of boxing worldwide.
What would you say to people who think that Anthony Joshua is cashing out and taking a greater risk by staging this fight in Saudi Arabia as opposed to having home advantage at the Millennium Stadium?
I don't think Anthony Joshua needs to cash out. I think he's doing all right. But in terms of the risk, there is greater risk for him in this fight doing it in a neutral venue than over in the UK. I think that's just common sense. But I admire him for that. He doesn't fear a challenge. You know, he talked about MSG, he talked about Cardiff. This situation come up for a neutral venue. It was a deal everybody was happy with. AJ's happy. And, you know, we look forward to making sure that he tries to regain those belts on December 7th.
Okay. Guys, this is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News. I was letting you guys listen to a segment of Eddie Hearn's interview from IFL, I believe. And they asked him about Andy Ruiz's comments about still hasn't signed, you know, and Eddie Hearn shut it down. He said, you know, fake news. He's already signed. He's already signed when he signed the first contract. He's contractually binded by that contract. So the fight has to happen. And the funny thing about this is, okay, where does this fit in? Does this news, what Eddie Hearn said, does this trump what Andy Ruiz had to say or said in his live feed? And I would have to say it does. 100%. I'm going to tell you why. One, Andy Ruiz saying, hey, I don't have any protection. I'm not going there. It's going to be in the U.S. But then he stopped. And the reason he stopped, because he said, oh, America, then he stopped. He stopped because he knew that it was something that he couldn't say that he wanted to say, but he knew he couldn't say. So if he couldn't say it, if someone can't say certain things and they stop themselves, that means that this particular situation is beyond his control. So he won't go past his boundaries of what and what not he can say. And he couldn't say that. What he couldn't say was what he was trying to say or wanted to say. Right? So Eddie Hearn was like, no, that's fake news. He knows what he got himself into. We blessed him with this opportunity. He had a great opportunity. He asked for this opportunity. So he signed this contract. And so signing this contract, he's binded by that contract to fight him again. Okay? So that leads me to believe that when Eddie Hearn says fake news, that's what it is. Andy Ruiz said, oh, the real news will come out. Eddie Hearn says that's fake news. So it still is a clash, but it's not a clash on the dunes. It's a clash of who has the rights to say what. And the thing is, it has to be Eddie Hearn because Andy Ruiz has signed the contract. Unless there's some loopholes. And the fact of the matter is, if this guy, you know, it's something in that contract that had it, you know, binded or whatnot. But if you notice, though, something about Andy Ruiz, he's not talking about the $9 million no more. Have you noticed that? If you noticed the last video that I posted, his live video, he did not say anything about money. I want more money to go here, to go there. He just said, oh, well, the real news will come out and I'm not having it in Saudi Arabia and Joshua's scared. That's why he wants it in Saudi Arabia. So it's not the money no more. Now it's the venue and the place. But I don't see Eddie Hearn over in Saudi Arabia confirming, promoting a fight there with the Saudis. And the fight's not going to be there. I just don't see that happening. You know? And Eddie has said some things that, you know, it makes sense. He signed a contract, regardless of what people feel about the contract, you know, he still signed it. Because Andy Ruiz knows that he would have made no money like that, nowhere near the amount of money that he made with Anthony Joshua. He knows that. You know what I'm saying? And I mentioned this before. What type of life or career would Andy Ruiz have? What path would his career be on if he wouldn't have fought Anthony Joshua that day? By signing that contract to fight him against. See, by signing that contract, that means that signing that contract, all the information provided for a rematch was included in that contract. Okay? So he knew if I beat him like he figured he would, did he really know? I'm really not sure if he knew he would beat Joshua. He knew. You know what? Andrew Ruiz signed that contract because he needed the money. He knew the opportunity. He knew he knew the value in signing that contract. He knew it was what it would meant to him, what he could do with that money. He knew this was an opportunity of a lifetime. He fucking signed his lotto ticket. Okay? He signed for a lottery that he knew he would win. That's awesome. He knew that, though. He knew that there was no way that he would probably get a title shot with Deontay Wilder. Think about it. You had Ortiz, and you got Fury, and you got Josh. No, you think Wilder would have gave Andy Ruiz a fucking chance at the WBC? Think about it. Look how many people were before Andy Ruiz before that fight happened. He only had one loss, but was Andy Ruiz even on the target for Deontay Wilder? Think about it, man. He was nowhere near that. You look, okay, Fury, Ortiz again. Fury again, Ortiz again. Maybe Joshua. If not Joshua, who? Adam Kaunaki, right? You had so many different fighters lined up to fight Deontay Wilder, and then maybe Ruiz. But Ruiz wasn't even a talking point with trying to make a fight on the other side, or should I say his side of the street, or his team. He wasn't even included in the conversation, people. So I don't see why it's an important, like, okay, the money's settled. He don't talk about the money. He ain't mentioned the money, right? But now he's saying, well, I'm worried about security, or protection, which does hold some merit, though. He does hold some merit. You know, if it's like, okay, if my life, if my health is on the line, why would I go somewhere and jeopardize that? Now, I can't see that because, I mean, you know, I heard Eddie Hearn say, well, Anthony Joshua wants no excuses. Well, to counterpunch that, honestly, if Anthony Joshua wanted no excuses, Anthony Joshua should have, instead of backing out from the negotiation table with deciding things, I guess he led that to Eddie Hearn. He should have just had to fight in Madison Square Garden. We wouldn't be having this problem anyway. Truth be told. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he didn't want it, you know, he didn't want any excuses. Well, if he goes there, Andy goes there and gets beat by Anthony Joshua, you think he won't have excuses at that point? The first thing's going to come out of Ruiz's mouth is this. I went to a place where I was really afraid for my fucking life, and I wasn't really focused on the fight, and I got beat. Narrative. Right? So who said that can't be an excuse? Excuses for losers. Reasons are for winners. Right? But so I don't want to, that's, you know, oh, he wants no excuses. No, if he really didn't want any excuses, he would have had it in Madison Square Garden. That's just being real. We shouldn't even had a clash on the dunes. We should have had the, you know, Madison Square Garden, you know, revisited. You know what I mean? You know, the return of Madison Square, you know, the battle at the Garden, you know, shit, all those corny clash on the dunes. They could have made it, you know, Madison Square Garden, lightning strikes twice, right? Something, you know, something like that. Something to that magnitude, but it should have been at Madison Square Garden, you know. Now, because it wasn't in the UK, that's a little better, you know what I mean? It's a little better in Saudi Arabia, but, you know, now you got the champion worried about safety. So, yeah, it's going to be excuses if he loses. And if you haven't heard that anywhere else, you've heard it here first. So if that happens, remember this video. Remember this video, people. So, but again, he did sign the contract, shitty or whatever, how he felt about the contract. He knew he was going to make money, more money than he's ever made in his life. So, you know, that's what he signed up for. Shitty or not, how he felt about it doesn't matter because he signed the contract. Bottom line. But anyway, this is the words from Eddie Hearn. You guys tell me what you think about this interview. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.